Imagine you've built this entire system for your print-on-demand business, but something is wrong. You're pouring in effort, money, designs, and absolutely nothing is coming out the bottom. And that's because your funnel is leaking. So there are a few types of funnels with the print-on-demand business model. And we're going to be talking about setting up a funnel that will lead to sales. That, at the end of the day, is what we care about. And we're going to talk about what your bottlenecks could be. There are 4 major stages to a print-on-demand business funnel: research, design, store, and ads. These are the 4 major points in the business that can make or break it for you. It's incredibly important that things are done correctly at each stage. For example, here's what a funnel would look like if you did incredible research, terrible designs, made a great store, and set up perfect ads. The water that you put through the funnel, well, it would never actually make it past the design section, as that would be full of holes or mistakes in our case. So the water would all seep out, and maybe a tiny bit of water will still get through and translate into sales. You know, if you're gushing water through, most of it's coming out, but a little bit might get through. The problem here is that tiny bit of water coming through the bottom of the funnel, translating into sales, that is enough to deceive someone into thinking they've got a good business and they should double down. When in actuality, if they fixed all those holes in the design stage, water would flow through in full force and you'd probably be getting 100 times more sales. Now, it's a concept known as the arrival fallacy. It's the mistaken belief that once you hit a goal, in this case a sale, you feel like you've made it, which leads to complacency and missing out on actual long-term real potential. Think of it like celebrating the appetizer but skipping the main course. Who wants to do that? So let's go through this funnel and ensure you have no holes in yours, because the worst part of a leaky funnel is, well, you might not realize it's actually leaking until you get to the ad stage, and then you have to go back and diagnose everything, and you would have spent a bunch of money and wasted a bunch of time. So let's just try and avoid that from happening. All right, stage 1 is research. And this one might sting, because most people mess up here before they've even started, and they don't even know it. This is where you're going to define your niche, your audience, and even the product that you're going to start selling. Don't just look at what's trending and copy it, right? That doesn't get you anywhere. And here's the truth. If your research is built on hunches, guesswork, and I like to call them shower thoughts, then it's very likely you have a leaky funnel at the very first stage, right? And you need to be validating your research through each step during the research phase. It's really not hard to pick a niche, so don't panic. Start by writing down all of your interests and hobbies. And if you don't have any, write down your friends' interests and hobbies. And if they don't have any, write down your family members' interests and hobbies. And if they don't have any, I mean, come on. At this point, you really need to rethink your life decisions, because what is happening that no one you know and yourself have no hobbies and no interests? I mean, come on. You can definitely write something down. And once you've written down a few things, research them. Find out everything you can about the audience. Look at other sellers' designs. Look at other shops. Dig deep into this niche. You can even ask ChatGPT to break it down for you as well. Now, if it sounds like it has potential to get sales, then great. Getting this stage right isn't so hard, as most niches would really do well. Now, of course, some would do better than others, but for the most part, well, there's a ton of opportunity here. Whether you're into music, hiking, gaming, camping, fishing, cooking, it doesn't really matter. And if this stage feels boring, don't worry. You really only have to do this once to find the niche. And if you finally nail down your research, it's rock solid. There's no more leaks. Well, what's next could derail the entire funnel. Stage 2 of the funnel is designs, and this is where most people fail. You may have a perfect niche and ample research, but 90% of the funnels that I have seen are riddled with holes at the design section. This one is sometimes so hard to spot because it's so easy to convince yourself that you've nailed it. Your designs are sales worthy, but here's the brutal truth. Being proud of your designs doesn't mean the customer cares, all right? It's not about what you want or what you think. It's about what the customer wants and what they are willing to buy. That's all that matters at the end of the day when it comes to this business. There are so many things that could go wrong here. In fact, so many I was able to make an entire community based on helping people make best-selling designs. Why? Because it happens more often than you actually think. If you have a look, here is the funnel again, except this time it's proportionate to the importance of each stage and how many people actually struggle with those stages. Whether they know it or not, it's the truth. The main thing to remember when it comes to designs and getting it right is the design hierarchy, which is placement, phrase, graphic, and then font and color. That's the main thing to always remember for each design. Does it tick each of those boxes? We can't expect every design to be good, right? But if you think of each design as like a potential tiny hole in this funnel step, if you have 10 bad designs out of 100, there'll be trickles of water escaping through your funnel, right? But not really the biggest deal. The majority of the water will come through the bottom and equal sales, right? And that's what we want. Now, if, however, you have 80 terrible designs and 20 good ones, well, 80 tiny holes is a lot of holes, right? And that's going to be a lot more than just a few trickles of water. And if you think, don't worry, I'll just make more designs, well, it's not a case of mass producing crap designs. Because if we remember that each design contributes to, a tiny potential hole, if you go and make 1,000 terrible designs and you have 100 great ones, well, 1,000 tiny holes is a hell of a lot of water escaping your funnel versus, if you just have those 100 good ones and you get all the traffic to come through and, flow through nicely and you're selling those 100 designs without any holes, that would be ideal. There's a lot more to consider, by the way, but try and stick to that design hierarchy when it comes to each section of the hierarchy. Feel free to check other videos on this channel or jump straight to our Design Hub community where, we're helping people every single day create best-selling designs through live calls, through courses, through the community wall, through personalized feedback, through all sorts of things. Now, once you've got designs nailed down, it's time to head down the funnel to stage 3, which is store. The good thing is this part is pretty simple. Well, maybe not for the technically challenged people, but there's a lot of copy and paste at this stage, right? You don't really have to figure out things yourself and be creative like you would with the design stage. Here it's just, this is what's working, I'm going to do it as well. Now with store, I would really just recommend following the cookie cutter store we created. It looks just like this. We're talking a very basic homepage, a shop now page with all of your products, and an about page and a contact us page. It's really nothing crazy. There's nothing crazy going on over here. Now, even though the store is pretty straightforward, it can still be filled with a few bottlenecks. So it's important to really make sure you're doing everything correctly, whether it's having a good clickable mock-up, an add to cart button that's bright and attention grabbing, or just displaying your products in the right order. Everything needs to be considered at every stage of this funnel, regardless of how much importance it has in the overall funnel. I'll tell you a little story of what happened to us just over a year ago. Our funnel was pretty much secured. It was perfect. Our research was rock solid. Our designs were amazing. Our store was all good, and our ads were producing really low cost per click, which is what you want, because the lower the cost per click, the more people come to your website. But for some reason, we just weren't converting, and we had a look at the ads and worked our way backwards in order to find the hole in our what we thought was a perfect funnel. And when we got to the store, we found a major hole. This was huge. If anything, all the water was escaping here. Our best-selling design, the same design that was producing 95% of our ad traffic, our effective bestseller, was buried deep on page 8 on our website. And because we advertised our collection page versus a specific product page, people were landing on this website and they weren't able to find the product that they wanted to buy. It was such a slapping head emoji moment of my life. A few people were persistent and clicked through to page 8 where they finally saw it and bought it. And those were the droplets that were able to actually get through the funnel, right? Those were those people. However, we were losing 95% of the traffic because of this major hole in our funnel. It was huge. And like I said, almost all the water was spilling out. We brought that design up to page 1 and put it in the number 1 spot, effectively duct taping over that giant hole, and it worked almost immediately. That ad that was producing a low cost per click and tons of traffic started converting like wildfire. And that single design alone has made us over $75,000 since we fixed that bottleneck, and it is not slowing down. And this is why every stage of the funnel is vital. Even something that's just copy and paste like your website. Mistakes happen everywhere throughout the funnel. You need to ensure that you stay on top of it. That's one of the reasons why I absolutely love doing feedback requests and going through people's funnels and going through people's designs in their stores and making sure that there are no holes. Now, there is still quite a lot to think about when it comes to your website. Does it look like a real brand? Are the mockups good? Is the website mobile optimized? That's a big one. And are the prices good with decent shipping times? There is certainly a lot to consider. The difference is with a website setup, you're usually following like a checklist or something along those lines. And we've built a checklist that people follow and are pretty successful with it. So you can get that. It's in the design community. So I wouldn't get hung up with store. It's usually okay. And finally, stage 4, ads. Here is where it can get a little bit scary because you're now actually spending money. But if you've ensured your funnel isn't leaking at this point, you're in a really good stage. And if you're wondering, how do you ensure your funnel isn't riddled with holes and you can't figure it out? Well, that's what I was saying earlier. In the Design Hub, you can post each element of your funnel to get a personalized feedback or audit or whatever you want to call it and know that you're on the right track. But let's just assume you've got your funnel down at this point and you're now up to ads. You'll be in a really, really good spot here because there isn't much that can go wrong. You just have to be very vigilant of your spending and your tracking. You want to look at your data every single day. You want to be filling out your profit and loss every single day. And that's just a sheet that allows you to track if you're making or losing money and where it's coming from, right? And if you don't track, well, you don't have data. No data means no feedback loop. And without a feedback loop, you're not really running a business here. You're essentially buying lottery tickets, hoping for the best, hoping for sales to come in. You need to be looking at your ad data. Now, bear in mind, if other parts of your funnel are broken, your ad might give you false data. It might, look like you're getting cheap clicks, but that doesn't necessarily mean the design is good. And all that traffic, all that money spent going to your website is pretty much wasted if your store is full of holes. Now, when creating ads and starting your ads account and this beginning stage of the business with your ads, you want to start with a basic mock-up. And this will do two things. It'll warm up your Facebook account and hopefully deter Facebook from getting spooked and potentially banning you, and it will help you find a winning mockup that you can use across your store. You'll then want to set up a simple broad targeting catalog ad, and you can set up more than one if you really want with different targeting, but at the start you pretty much just need one broad ad. And then it's about waiting, analyzing the data and acting accordingly. And having holes in the ad stage is much more unlikely than the other three stages. And it's funny because most people immediately blame ads when sales don't come in. But actually, it's almost never the fault of the ad. It's the fault of the design, the mock-up, the store, or the niche. And the ad is just you turning the tap on, turning the tap on at the top of the funnel and letting the water pour through, delivering traffic, delivering sales. All the other stages are the ones where water seeps out of if you make mistakes. So get everything right and then turn on that tap and the sales will come in. And if you're stuck at any stage, or maybe you don't even know what stage you might be stuck at, I would highly recommend skipping out on all the noise and just streamlining this whole process that I've just shown you in this video. And you can do that in our Design Hub, which is an awesome print-on-demand community where I show you exactly how to find a niche, create best-selling designs, create your brand, pick a printing partner, setting up your store, store. It really gets you ready from beginner to, your store all ready to go. Now, it does have a lot of other awesome stuff like live calls, feedback requests, templates, resources, and all those other kind of things. It's just an awesome place to really take your business to the next level. So if you are serious about creating a print-on-demand business and creating best-selling designs and getting the support that you need, the link is down below. Feel free to click it. Feel free to check it out. Hopefully, I will see you in the design community.